This video is part of my interview series as I just talk to people in my everyday life and ask them questions about what they're doing, what they're up to, sometimes asking them about coaching. Michael is someone that has a lot of information. He is very much interdisciplinary, and it was a pleasure to chat with him and was kind enough to let me record our conversation, even though I just met him at that event. In this video, we talk about the book that he's publishing soon. At the end, we talk about coaching some and just some of the coaches that he's had in his life and how they helped him. And we talk about the work that he's doing and how he's helping organizations kind of shift their perspective and get a really clear picture of what are the problems that they're facing and how can they potentially solve them by getting that new perspective or stepping out of the box. So I really enjoyed chatting with Michael, and hopefully you will as well. So we're here at Startup Drinks, and I ran into Michael over here that you'll see in a moment, and thought I'd just pull out the camera and chat because really engaging person and just wanted to hear more. Yeah, so you're talking about your business and working, so you're out in Sahuarita but helping business locally, and then started talking about Eisenhower's quote, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so what I do is this, as an organization I'm calling polymathic disciplines. And so there's a quote from Eisenhower I love, which is, you can never solve a problem by going further into it. I'm paraphrasing here. Only by stepping back can you begin to see the outlines of the solution. And too often, so many people want to just dive into the problem. And when you step back, what happens is it kind of goes into a forced known. Except you bias yourself by just diving into it, by which you assume you do know, all your assumptions and everything that went into it. But by stepping back, you can start to see what else is out there. And so I offer what's called systems innovation. And so I kind of, I think the way I would best describe it is it's insatiable curiosity, the humility to accept you probably don't know as much about the problem as you think you do, and then I love the book Ender's Game. Have you ever, so there's in the book they have a battle lab up in space, and the battle lab is actually in a zero-G environment. They would enter from across, so they would always fight across the battle lab. Ender merely said, what happens if we reconceptualize it and look at it as the enemy's gate is down? And by doing that, it changed everything about the dynamic of the battle. So systems innovation is that insatiable curiosity, the humility to accept we don't know as much, and then intentional reframing. If I take that object and I rotate it, does the problem definition change when we look at it from different perspectives? If it changes, then we don't have the right problem definition. And that's what I'm trying to help organizations achieve with systems innovation.
So I'm curious, what are the types of businesses that would most benefit from this systems thinking or kind of engineering problems to really get to the root, maybe a root cause analysis of what are the problems that they're experiencing and how to solve them?
So I have a stronger tech background. I have so I can talk that language. That's probably one of my, it's a strength, but then with other businesses, it's probably a weakness because I'll just dive down the tech route a little bit too fast. But it's really any business that's looking to unlock their capability. If you're stuck, if you don't know where you're going and everything just keeps repeating itself, that's the type of organization I want to help with, just stepping back and then trying to find the right problems to solve. So it's not really a type or a niche of finance or tech or healthcare. It's more the type of person who really wants to really kind of unlock it, get it moving in the right direction.
What are some other influences that help you to do this work? So you mentioned Eisenhower. I'm familiar with design thinking, and there's just a lot of other frameworks that are out there. Yeah. I'd just be curious, either what books kind of have influenced you, or even engineering background. What helps you to guide this process?
There's fundamentally two things. I call it, so there's design thinking, and then there's something I call systems thinking or systems innovation. And that, I think, is the crux of it all. It's that stepping back from the problem. And so design thinking is really great, kind of looking at it from the perspective of the customer. Systems thinking even steps one level back of how do you look at the system completely and rotate it around. So influences. So there's a group called Systems Innovation. They're on LinkedIn and other places. They've got great simple frameworks that work well. But fundamentally, I think the root of where it goes is we talked about influences. Isaac Newton has another quote I love. If I've seen further, it is because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. And I'm not trying to say I'm a giant. My point is, let's find out who the giants are and build those people into a collaboration so that we can stand higher.
That's awesome. So, and on a personal note, you just recently published a book. What's the name of that book? Tell me a little bit about that.
Soon to be published, coming out, I believe July 21st is what we're looking at. It's called Paradox. It's book 1 of the Singularity Chronicles. The tagline I'm working with on right now is, in the battle over advanced AI, will we lose our humanity or will we find out what actually makes us human? And so it's an exploration into the tech. What are we looking at? What's it look like? It's more of an exploration into the human. What makes humans different from AI, or flip it around, how would you make AI more human? And just the challenges and idiosyncrasies that come with it. So,
cool. Sounds good.
Billions die.
I recently read William Hartling's Avogadro Corp. And another Tucson and really good series. I don't know. It sounds like you've read it, or
it's come across my purview once before, so now I'm really gonna have to look at it.
It was good. Like, just it was fascinating to put yourself into the shoes of like that future of like how could AI come about, that it doesn't necessarily have to come from us trying to create AGI, that it could just come out as an emergent property. And then of course, like, the series continues where there are some like augmented humans that then are able to compete on this or combat and exist on a similar level as AI, which is just a mind-blowing idea to me. So yeah, good series. I'd recommend it. But it sounds like you have an interesting book. So you're going to write some more books in the series?
Yeah, there's so I guess we'll give a little bit of a spoiler. So in the end, there's a fork in the book. One goes to where the humans decide they kind of want to reset. They're not ready for it. They want to get back to more natural living. And the other one follows the AI that has become, say, as close to human as they could make it. And so the reset book's going to be interesting, because with a reset, how do you overcome so many of the hurdles, the tripping hazards that we've had over the last 4,000 years that besmirch human history? And then the AI side is an interesting exploration, because what do you do? What is a human divorced from a corporeal body and all of the identifiers that go with that? Like, what does male, female, non-binary, anything like that mean when you don't actually have a body that's tied to that? And so it's kind of both of those are going to be, the next book is going to follow the AI, and then it's going to switch back to the humans for 2 books, and then back to the AI for the final. That's the plan anyway.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, I look forward to checking it out. And it's available will be available on Amazon. You mentioned Nook.
Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Barnes & Noble are the 2 major platforms I look to be going on this. So it'll be in an ebook version, and then we'll have hardcover, softcover. But ebook versions be the easiest for most people on Nook and Kindle.
Cool. That sounds cool. So, kind of a segue question, a random question, and this may not work, but I'll try it anyway. I can always edit this out. So I'm working on becoming a coach for ADHD people.
Okay.
And just a question that I'm exploring is like, what good is coaching? Like, what is there any good that comes from it? Of course, I believe there is, and I'm kind of exploring it myself. Like, what role does coaching play in my life? And so you could call that mentors, you could call that people speaking into my life, or even backing out, like what you talked about with your consulting company, that you really have to step out of something and get a new perspective on it in order to really solve something. And that I think coaching can do that on a personal level, maybe not on an organizational level. So I'd be curious, and you may not have a good answer for this, so I'm just shooting it out there, but what do you think coaching, like, is there any benefit to coaching? Like, what are your thoughts on, even if you were to call it mentorship, either in your life,
Yeah.
that coaching or mentoring or even other people kind of giving you a new perspective or speaking in your life has played in your life?
That's a fantastic question. So I'll give two examples. I had a lady that was a coach mentor of mine, just came into my life, just poof, was there. I call her my cheese grater because she just went through and just ripped off all of my defensive. I would tell myself these stories about why I was doing something. She'd be like, Mike, that's nope. And I get done with the session, be like, oh my God, I literally felt like raw. And she just saw something in my soul, and she wanted me to see that as well. And it was transformative in that sense. That's a benefit of coaching. When you find that cheese grater who can cut through and find out who you really are and help you see that. The second is in coaching, I always find coaching either when I'm coaching somebody or I'm being coached by somebody, it needs to be, both people need to be learning. I had a vice president when I was working at Raytheon. She was wonderful, and I felt like we both left the conversation mutually edified, because it wasn't just her, like me sitting at her feet being like, please give me all your wisdom. It was more like a conversation and an ebb and a flow. And I think she appreciated that from a lot of the people that she also mentored, different from what she also mentored. Because she would often leave and be like, wow, I didn't think about it that way. That's really interesting. So that's an aspect of coaching that I find interesting that I also try to take with me, is I should be able to learn as the coach as much from the session as the person I'm coaching learn from the session. That would be my goal. I need to be learning from that as well.
That's good. That's good. So another question kind of occurred to me as we were talking, like, what advice would you give someone in my position that's starting out coaching, that, I have my experiences and what how I'm trying to help people. And it sounds like you've had some really good experiences and some people that have been able to speak into your life. Just be curious, like, if there's something that you learned from them or something that you admired in that person that spoke into your life, that you'd want to tell someone else that's just getting started.
Whoa, that's a more challenging one. I think it just really depends. What are your talked about ADHD and things like that. I would say in that category, it's a good coach raises the ability of the other person. So I've seen a lot of coaching where it's justifying what you have versus aspiring to something better. And I would say a coach is somebody who always forces, or not forces, but encourages and motivates people to aspire to something. So if it's ADHD, don't use that as an excuse for not. Find out how it enables you to do something better, right? Don't. And for somebody who, if you're ADHD, if you feel like you're a fish trying to climb a tree, figure out how that can be leveraged into an ability versus a limitation. So it shouldn't be an excuse, it shouldn't be a limitation, it shouldn't be a restraint. How do you divorce that and use it to aspire? Even just divorcing yourself of it's a limitation is an ability to aspire. That's choppy, but kind of, I would say a coach elevates is really the main thing in whatever discipline it is.
I love it. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. Awesome. Good answers, being off the cuff and not prepared for it. So yeah, appreciate you. Thanks for watching that interview with Michael. We actually just caught up again today on Zoom to just chat and hear how things are going. The book is still going to be published, probably by the time this goes out this month in July. And I was super glad to have met Michael at that networking event, and hope you enjoyed our conversation. Thanks for watching.